Welcome to Interro Bites. These are 15-minute videos taken from my long-form live streams. If you want to see the full video or more, subscribe to Dacquisto and check out the playlists on my main page. Thanks for being here. Enjoy.
Things started to get really, really strange. And this is why I think I had a hard time getting across to Investigator Hale. So we have that fight. She goes to Portland for a weekend. She comes back. It's now June. In June, I was walking around saying to all my friends, I don't know what is going on. Something is going on.
Again, just a little pause there. He's saying in June, which is the month before Dan's murder, there was a shift because he has gone from March to now talking about, her cheating, a few of her personality characteristics. And now he's saying, this is really interesting, this part coming up. So starting to feel like he was feeling like something was going on. So check this out.
We had a very frank talk about that and decided to stay together. She said, it's one guy. He's gone. He literally moved out of the area, as you probably know. So in June, I was walking around saying to my friends, I don't know what's going on. It's just uncanny to think back on it now. I said, I don't know what's going on, but something's going to happen. Like, it feels like there's drum beats. It feels like we're moving towards something. It's really, really strange. I don't know what's.
Something is going to happen. It feels like this drum beat. And he said in hindsight, it's uncanny. That's a very specific word. It's a descriptor for what is, what he's saying he was feeling in June and then what ended up happening in July, sadly. Hi, Too Deep. Welcome. You're so welcome.
One of the strange things that happened was we had a trip to California scheduled to see my parents the week that Danny was killed. And in early June, she rescheduled that trip. And I said, what's the problem with the trip? She says, well, I'm worried we'll get stuck in the airport and we won't be back on Friday. I have to pick up the kids from school. And I said, but we're coming back Thursday night. It's not winter. We're not going. After the winter, I would understand. There's no way we're going to get stuck. We can rent a car. We have babies. That's strange. I said, fine, cancel the trip.
And that was going to be in early June?
The trip was going to be the week that Danny was killed.
Oh, okay. That was the trip?
11th to 9th.
This is where it's sinking in because Jeffrey is very thorough in everything that he's bringing out to Detective Ice. Trying to paint this whole picture. It was kind of cool right here where Detective Ice, and you could tell he might have been a little bit lost, and then he went, oh, okay. You mean you had a trip planned. You were feeling something weird happening in June. She canceled this trip in June that she had tickets for over a month, that they had tickets for to go to California for over a month. Suddenly she couldn't go that week.
It was supposed to be the trip. So we had a trip planned, and she was real strange about the fact that we had to reschedule this trip. It just didn't make sense. And I even said, if you just don't want to go because you don't feel comfortable right now, just tell me. That's cool. She goes, no, I have to pick up the kids from school that day. I just have to. I don't want to do anything to stop that. And she said, I'll miss the kids at that point. I said, okay. A couple of days later, I say, well, she said, but I want to spend that time with you. I was leaving for Tennessee on Friday. She said, I want to spend that Monday through Thursday with you. I said, great. You want to go to St. Augustine? She loves the beach. She hates Tallahassee. This, again, is just very strange and suspicious to me.
Okay, so he's like, okay, fine. You don't want to go to California. It's the hottest week of the year. I'll take you to St. Augustine because you love the beach. Okay?
Wendi Adelson tells me, what I want to do is a staycation. I want to stay home in Tallahassee.
And this is really interesting. I don't know if you heard this statement, but he said, but what Wendi Adelson tells me, up until this time, he'd say Wendi, he'd call her Wendi or her or she. But in this statement, he said, but what Wendi Adelson told me was, I want to have a staycation, which is, we know how she felt about Tallahassee.
I said, you want to stay in Tallahassee the hottest week of the year? He goes, yeah, we'll go to Tom Brown Park. We'll do this. I said, you hate it here. I'm offering to take you away. Why wouldn't you? It's just really strange at the time. I remember saying to my friends, like, Wendi wants, people laugh. I said, Wendi says she wants to stay in Tallahassee. Like, she leaves town. Sure, you know, every chance she gets, she leaves town. Why would she want to stay? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I finally managed to convince her to do a trip to St. Augustine, but we had to schedule it so that we were back basically by the time of the shooting. So that was just strange. It was peculiar at the time. When we scheduled that trip to St. Augustine, I was sitting there, she has her calendar open. You have to schedule everything with her. That's just how she was. There was just, at the time, I remember sitting in her office trying to schedule this, and there's this weirdness about that weekend. We're scheduling other things, no problem. But that weekend, she just was intent on. That day meant something to me before Danny was shot.
Okay. So he's saying he had something was happening in June. He could feel like there was some kind of a drumbeat. He was talking to his friends about it. Now they're talking about St. Augustine, but he can remember them going to her through her calendar to get things scheduled. And he said that day had meaning to it. He couldn't figure out why, even before Dan Markel was murdered. This is huge because that's what's called contemporaneous. Jeff will be a great dad. Of course he will. He really missed those boys. It's too bad he was convinced that Dan was such a bad person, right? Even though, I mean, to me, the lesson in this is no matter what people say about another person, unless you have that personal experience, be careful what you listen to, even, because some people can seem credible, and people will slander other people very easily.
Something
sad
weird about that week. I don't know what it is. There's something weird about that week. If we keep going through June, other things I noticed in June that were really crazy.
Let me back up a second so I get this right.
Yeah.
July 11th through 19th, you're supposed to go to California.
Yeah.
Leave on the 11th, come back on the 19th.
I can look it up for you. It might be 12th to 19th, but it was the week that Danny was shot. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when is she saying, I can't do it? What date?
So Mentour Lawyer, this video is from Mentour Lawyer. He's clarifying it was actually July 11th through the 17th. So this is accurate what he's saying here.
What date are we talking about when she's telling you I can't?
Early June. I can pull up exactly.
Early June.
Early June. Yeah.
So what this means? What do you think this means? So everything was what it was, not great. Okay. But something happened in June. She canceled the trip to California. She didn't quite break up with him. It was kind of back and forth. They were planning this. He was trying to plan this trip to St. Augustine the week of Dan's murder instead of going to California. Something was happening, but perhaps the planning was coming together in June because that's when these plans started to become a problem for the week of Dan Markel's murder.
You're supposed to go to California with her, just you two.
We have plane tickets purchased.
Thank you.
And she sat me down. I think it was June 5th or 7th. I will find out for you if you would like.
Yeah.
And she just said, I can't do that. And it just didn't make sense. It just didn't make any sense.
So she'd already said that date was that window of.
She said, this is the one week I have to go see your parents. And I
11th
said,
through the 19th.
But that was in May we booked them. So 3 different times she canceled plans with me in the 2 or 3 day period with Danny.
What's your?
So just so you hear this again, 3 different times she canceled plans with Jeff for that week of Dan Markel's murder. This is what he's trying to bring out. There were 3 different times. There was the trip to California, St. Augustine, and I forgot what the other one was. And to answer your question, Helen, at the end of yesterday's video, I showed a document. It was a report that Jeffrey LaCasse had phoned in. This is in March of 2015 and said, I've been thinking things over and there's some more things I have to tell you. So no, Isom didn't call him in. Jeffrey had been going over things in his mind, and he just felt very compelled to come in and share this information. And he spoke to, I believe, Detective Hales over the phone, who did the report, but it's Detective Isom who is taking this interview.
You're leading to is this is highly suspicious that she needs to be here on the 18th of July.
Yeah, just anecdotally, subjectively, whatever it's worth, it was really weird. It was really strange. I know this woman. I know her really well. And there was something at the time, me saying to my friends, what's going on? It's just really, really strange. It's just really.
She'd never done anything like this before.
No, she had canceled and recanceled, and she did that all the time. Completely disorganized person. But it usually made sense. Usually had a reason. And usually the reason was something about court with Danny, or parents wanted to come down to South Florida. Every other time but this, I understood. This time I was completely puzzled. It didn't make sense. And it was very, very strange.
I can just feel, I don't know, it sounds like you guys can too, Isom perking up here and being like, wait, what day? And you can tell he's writing intently. So this is where it's like, okay, this is some stuff here. There's something happening here. He is definitely paying attention. And Too Deep says, I didn't care about what my ex-wife said until she started saying nice things. Then he started getting suspicious. Too Deep. I'm sorry about that. Yes. And this is what Jeffrey was saying. This is what Jeffrey was trying to say. It's like she has a different persona behind the scenes, and that, that she was deeply depressed, that she drank a lot. She cried. He caught her crying in the kitchen several times. I'm not sure if this comes up yet, but yep. So are we learning anything new today, or are we refreshing our memory? I'm just curious.
Okay, so she cancels this trip to California. Did you go anywhere? No, of course you didn't. You were okay.
Wish I had.
Yeah. And so what happens to these plane tickets?
Her ticket, I have no idea.
So she bought her own?
Yeah, we should move out.
Her ticket, I have no idea. She bought her own ticket.
Separate plane tickets. As a matter of fact, I don't know that she did buy a plane ticket.
Oh.
I love this part.
Same air.
I need to make a clip out of this part. I don't know if she really did buy her own. You could just tell his little investigative mentor lawyer says the interrogations of the Sherlock Holmesian Professor LaCasse. This is where he's like, he would have probably been a good investigator.
Airline, same flight.
I can find out if I can send you my reservation, because we had a discussion about getting our seats moved together. So I think she probably bought a ticket, actually, but I never saw the ticket.
It wasn't discussed any further.
I can't recall.
Okay, so that's the first thing. In early June, she says, Jeff, I got to be back on that Friday, the 18th.
Exactly.
To pick up the kids. I guess that's going to be the first of her week with the kids, maybe?
Yeah, she gets the kids back after having, because they went to 7-day schedule in the summer.
Right.
And she's going, I'll miss the kids. I said, we'll be back. So you don't want to go, just tell me I don't want to go. No, I want to go. I just got to be back for the kids. There was a special.
Okay, why not adjust the flight or just
Well, she had the kids the previous week. This was her one free week. She's also booked all summer.
Well, the 18th is a Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so.